Cool. So today we'll learn how to make PowerPoint presentations, right? Now, I have seen a bit of good presentations, as in काफ़ी सारे presentations है which qualify as good presentations. At my intern, I saw how to do effective slide writing. People are able to write very concisely and they are able to put their point across effectively. Those are good presentations. Some presentations are just good to eye. दिखने में बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छे होते हैं. They use good aesthetics. So these are good presentations, right? But they are not the next level presentations that we are talking about. Today we are going to learn kick-ass presentations, extremely epic presentations by using all features of PowerPoint, right? So a slightly advanced tutorial of PowerPoint, if I may, is going to be conducted here. I assume that all of you know basic PowerPoint, right? You have used it before. I'm sure all of you have made presentations before. So cool. Okay. So I feel that good or like better presentations are of two major parts. First is slide writing, which is basically what to put in the presentation, right? How to put, like, what to write in the presentation so that it will be communicated in the most effective way. And secondly, how to make it, the software aspect of it, PowerPoint ke features and so on, animation, etc. Right? So in slide writing, we'll cover creating a flow, some do's and don'ts, some checks for your slides, and the text hierarchy, what text should be put, how should it be written, and so on. We'll spend less time on this and we'll spend more time on the features of PowerPoint, right? So in features, we'll cover how to create a good layout. Again, this is not really PowerPoint. Layout wala part is not really PowerPoint. It should come this way in a way, right? How to use shapes and pictures, we would focus on that. And the major part of today's presentation is animation. How are we going to make better slides with better animation use, right? So this is by using both these slide writing and software features, we are going to create really compelling, really beautiful PPTs. That is what we aim to do today. Okay. Cool. So I've created a series of 6 steps in which we'll take this workshop ahead, right? I would suggest all of you have the paper and pen with you, and we'll create a sample slide of like 2-3 slides about yourself. So say if I'm preparing a slide for myself, I'll talk about my name and so on, right? So I would want all of you to prepare a similar slide for yourself. Don't go more than 2 or 3 slides. That should be more than sufficient, right? So the first step in creating PowerPoint presentations is creating a flow. Typically, I would start out on a paper. This is where I see maximum mistakes happening. लोग क्या करते हैं? They will just start off with a template, which I feel is very wrong. Then you let the template take shape of your idea, which never does justice to what you want to present. Create a flow. Start jotting down points that you want to communicate. Just straight out write what you want to tell through these slides, right? So if I'm making a slide about myself, if I'm telling about myself, I would write these points, right? My name, maybe I'll throw in a photograph of myself, background, achievements, interests, and my contact info, right? So feel free to use the same list. Feel free to use like some of these or add in your own points for yourself. So just write like a short list of things that you want to put in your slide, right? Today I'm not going to wait for a long time for everyone to finish. Maybe we can spend time on things afterwards because we are recording the session. I want that to be a small video, right? The next step here is clubbing these points that you've jotted out together and combining them into slides. So I feel that my name and photograph will form one slide and that should do it. Whereas background, achievements and interest should come in another slide. That would be one slide, and contact info in another, right? Now, one essential point in creating these slide wala groups is that you should communicate only one central point at any given point of time when you're talking. Okay, we'll come to that in the next slide, but you should keep that in mind. Okay, so we club these together in slides, right? So I feel these are good clubs, right? And this is my flow, right? A very simple flow. In a more complicated PPT like the one that we are seeing right now, your flow would become much more complicated. I have the flow that I used to create this with me after the PPT. If you want to have a look at that, feel free to ask me, right? So this is the flow that we have. Now the next question, so far we are just writing the content down, right? We are just writing what I want to tell in my PPT. So if this is my DDP ka presentation, I would just write down topic, I would just write down methodology and so on, my results, conclusions, so on, right? The next step is thinking about how I can present each of these slides effectively. So about my name and photograph, I'll think about only this content and think how I can present that in the most effective way. And I would make a schematic of that slide on the paper itself, right? So I think an image along with some text would do good. For my achievements, I would maybe make a timeline or a graph of sorts, right? And for contact info, I'll just throw in some icons and give my contact info. You will in fact see a contact info slide at the end of this in this PowerPoint, right? So this will basically give you a flow. This you will have on paper, and that is a good point to start creating. This is when you shift to PowerPoint, as in the software, right? But before this, just starting out with software is not really recommended. At least I wouldn't recommend, right? Cool. So we would have a flow this way, right? Let's go to the next step. The 4 checks, 4 do's and don'ts of sorts. So I would have every slide go through these 4 critical questions, right? Each slide that I make should pass this test. It's not like very hard and fast, but something that I feel is very, very important for each slide. The first one is, like I said, only 1 point per slide, not 2, not 1.5, just 1 point per slide, right? That is because you need to sort of, if you are presenting too many things at a time, you will just not get that attention from the viewer or listener that you want, right? Plus, it will be very easy for you to present 1 point at a time, and you will be very focused when you're speaking. So this is like one of the most important part. Not a lot of people follow this when they are presenting, right? So let's remember this. Keep noting down these 4 points. I'll have a summary of these points at the end of like the deck. But whenever you are making a presentation, have these 4 checks and check for each slide whether these 4 checks are being being followed, right? Next one is this 1 point, right? Back it up with an illustration or data. Like generally when you are making data heavy slides, you have one conclusion and you want to back that up with several whatever like data or so on, right? So back it up with data or illustrate it in the most effective way. Also, going back to the previous point, you might have more than 1 point in a slide. For example, this slide actually has 4 points, right? Each of the 4 sub-points that we want to see. But if you notice, I am presenting only one of them at a time, right? At any given point of time, only one of them is on the screen. And that is what I mean by this first point. You should present only 1 point at a time. Okay, back up your points or illustrate it. One thing should lead to another, always. In a PPT, you should never lose flow. Whatever you are saying should be followed and be followed by something that was related to it. So always have that strong flow. This way the listener won't get really bored, or he will always stay in contact with what you are saying, right? And finally, you speak, the slide expresses. This is something that I have never, it is one of the most rare things that I have seen. People generally tend to read from the slides. I feel that's very arrogant. You should never do that. And you should neither ask the viewers to read from the slide directly. I think the slide should only show or illustrate what you want to say, and the speaking should be done by you. If you're making presentations which you have to send to someone, feel free to put in sentences and have the user read it or so on. But presentations that you are showing or like presenting yourself, you should do the speaking and the slide should only do the expression part of it, right? So just to go through them once again, 1 point per slide, illustrate that 1 point. Everything should follow, or like one thing should lead to another, and finally you should speak and the slide should express, right? So not a lot of text on the slide. Cool. So this. Any questions, anyone? All right.
The first one you said now,
Yeah.
data heavy slides.
Yeah.
Like you said, DDP, you have only 20 minutes.
Right,
and
right.
Year work to do it.
Right.
You generally tend to put 2 graphs or 3 graphs or 4
Right.
graphs.
Right.
Those are actually 4 points.
Understood. Yes. Very good point. So my roommate's presentation actually had like 7 equations on one slide, and he was very confused how I should show this, right? So what we did was each of these equations was simplified like into another one. So each equation was derived from the previous equation, and he wanted to show all 7 equations. So in that slide, what we did was we made the first equation appear first, right? By this time, nothing else was visible. Then he speaks about this equation and says that we do this manipulation, and then the second equation appears, right? So what is happening here is you see only this part when you are presenting, and when you derive the second one, you see only that part, and that way you can bring on all 7 of them, or maybe you can remove some of them while the next ones come in as soon as they lose relevance, right? So selectively show things as per their importance. Clear? Cool. The next part, text and hierarchy. I think text is one of the most important parts of PowerPoint, and it is not used very well in most of the presentations. A typical slide would consist of a few hierarchies. Slide heading. My slide heading is this one, text and hierarchy, right? A subtitle. My subtitle is not exactly a typical subtitle here, but step 3 is sort of my subtitle, right? For all purposes of hierarchy, it is my subtitle. And there's body. So the text that you see on the rightmost side is my body, right? Not my body as in the slide's body, right? So you see only 3 font formats throughout the slide. Maybe a 4th one will come in wherever I need it, but not more than these. So it is very, very important to remember these hierarchies of text, right? Always have your format very distinct, as in your header should be distinct from your subtitle, from your body, from your whatever navigation style or so on, right? So that is very, very crucial, and follow that throughout your slide. Never change it. Don't change it by the tiniest bit, right? It will make things easy for you because you will be able to copy paste things so that their consistency is retained, right? And finally, in text, remember that you should use only phrases and not full sentences. A lot of people end up writing like lines, actual lines, global warming has led to this, so on, right? That is not what is recommended, because if you go to our 4th check, it said that you should speak and the slide should only express. You should maybe write down effects of global warming and then you say the effects of global warming out loud. And as you say it, you may like scroll pictures of those effects or so on. That would create a much better impact, right? Cool. So this is about text briefly. For those of you who are coming late, maybe I'll just go through the PPT again at the end because it's a very short PPT. So you'll just go through it again, no problem. Cool. Layout, right? So if you see this slide, like these slides, this presentation is organized in a typical fashion, right? Now all that text that you had, everything, or you selected your font formats and everything, right? You selected the size of the font and so on, but you want to keep it somewhere on the slide. You need to fix that and maintain that consistency throughout. This depends again on what kind of slide it is, right? We discussed in the beginning, we are going to make those schematics of slides, right? Now a few slides will fall into one group. For example, all my slides follow this similar layout, right? The slide has a top navigation bar where I show what is like in what flow we are going. There's a heading on the left side, right? And there's this active area on the right side which is my playground, where I show illustrations, where I demonstrate my point, where there's all sorts of shit, right? So you need to have this consistent layout throughout your slides. Now not all slides need to follow this. For example, the slide where we saw slide writing versus presentation, it was different from this slide, right? So it was a different kind of slide. So you will have thousands of layout styles for different kind of points. Whenever you make that flow, you need to assign this layout to your slides. A very exhaustive sort of layout list is given by Google in a sample presentation that it has made for itself. I'll try to upload that on Facebook after this presentation, right? So it gives you different layouts. Say if you have to have a quote in your presentation, what should be the ideal layout for that? Maybe an image in the background and just big text with the author, right? So something like this would be a layout for a quote, right? Maybe a map for showing locations, comparison, or timelines or so on, right? So select these layouts, but if you have 2 things of the same kind, make sure you use the same layout for all of them. That will add consistency. So you see, we have to maintain consistency across all fronts, text and layout, right? Cool. Now let's start the software part of it. We'll focus more on this part. So far it was like we were rushing through things. Does anyone have a doubt so far, or if anyone's not following something? Cool. Cool. So the first thing that we'll cover is shapes and pictures. I think this is one of the most powerful parts of PowerPoint. In fact, PowerPoint lets you create almost everything there. It's just like Photoshop. You cannot like render a lot of effects, but you can create almost everything. You can create everything from the basic shapes that PowerPoint gives you, right? And there are a lot of formatting options. So here when you go to insert, you will see shapes there, right? I'm sure all of you have inserted a rectangle at the very least in your slides, right? So this is the insert shapes wala part, right? So when you draw a shape, this is where most people leave it, right? And then that is it. They never format this shape. But you need to realize that there are tons of formatting options that PowerPoint gives. Most importantly, two options: shape outline. Remove that irritating dark blue outline that most shapes have. I just hate that outline, right? And change the color according to your theme or according to your requirement. Change the color of your slide. PowerPoint will allow you to choose any color. Just click on the more colors part and you'll actually be able to enter your hex code or pick a color from somewhere. It's actually a very nice software, right? And then there are other things that you can do. So just like Photoshop, I'm not sure everyone here uses Photoshop, but just like Photoshop, there is a Z level depth. So imagine this slide as a table and imagine as if you're keeping things on top of each other. So one thing is on top of each other, right? So if I move this rectangle over this shapes and picture text, I won't be able to see the text, right? So you are able to adjust them, like you are able to put one on top of each other. And PowerPoint actually has a very cool feature that has come in recently. I'll just show you that. So if you have to adjust this thing, this is what PowerPoint has done, right? So you can actually drag something and put it right behind, right? And this is very, very handy. I really feel that Photoshop should also do something like this. So these are some additional features in PowerPoint that you can actually use with shapes and pictures, right? Cool. So removing the outline and changing the color is going to help you a lot of times. Also, you can completely remove the fill too, as in your shape will become transparent and you can have an outline for that. That is also useful a lot of times, right? Cool. That is about shapes and moving them through the Z depth. Also, you can insert pictures in your PowerPoint slide. Now, this is super powerful because that is a bridge to using softwares like Photoshop. So, you can actually create something in Photoshop, insert it over here, and then animate it or maybe use it, right? That makes PowerPoint much, much more powerful. And I use it this way. It really increases the entire thing, right? Using pictures also adds to one more thing, which is using icons, right? You can actually use icons in your decks. It's very, very simple, but I have not seen many people do it. I don't know why. So these are icons from Google. These are Google Material icons. You can download them for free. And it's a very, very exhaustive list. I've used them throughout this PPT and it looks very good. So you should also use icons to demonstrate your point when you have nothing else to back it up or illustrate it, right? So that's about shapes and pictures. Let's come to the most important discussion for today, which is animation. First off, why animation, right? I've hardly seen anyone use animation in their presentations. It's actually a very, very powerful tool and will help you solve many communication problems like having 7 equations on a page. Once you can selectively bring on things and remove things from the slide, you can use the same slide to show selective data to people, right? Or move things around just for fun. So the first reason is it makes your slide very dynamic. It helps you target that third point, which is like one thing leads to another. Animation is really, really going to help there. Secondly, you will always have attention. Since things are moving on the screen, you will always have attention of whoever is looking at your PPT, right? And finally, it looks really good. And at least I am pretty happy with the results so far. That's why we should use animation. Let's deep dive into the technicals of how we are going to use animations. There are 3 main types, or rather 4 types of animation, but let's look at 3 of them right now. The first one is an entry animation, right? Now, I'm going to go slow from here. Feel free to ask any questions in the middle of this and feel free to try this out as we are speaking, right? So just draw a shape on your screen right now if you have PowerPoint open in front of you, and we'll try each of these things out as we speak, right? So the first type of animation is an entry animation. You will see this particular part, this part, as soon as you click on the animation tab here. Once you click this, you will get another tab over here You will have entry animations, another some animations and exit animations over here, and so on. So right now we are concerned with the entry animations. Your screen might look slightly different from what a MacBook screen looks like. Like Windows has slightly different UI for animations, right? Cool. So entry animation is something like this. I want to make an object appear on my slide for the first time or for whatever nth time. That is an entry animation. There are tons of entry animations. Some of them are really shitty. Please don't use them. Use fade, wipe, or fly in, right? And whenever you are using fly in, just smooth the entry, right? That would make it look much better. There's also spinner. I like spinner. I've like recently started liking spinner. There are also animations like it will bounce and come in and so on. Please, okay, all right. The wipe animation is actually really cool. It wipes your objects in a single direction, right? Now either it can do it, it can go from top to bottom or bottom to top or left, right, and so on, right? Use that in the length of your direction. So if you have a box which is like longer, use it to wipe it from left to right. That will give you, it will feel as if the box is like coming along or so on, right? So there are these few tips and tricks that I'll keep on telling you. Cool. Next up is emphasis. This is, I have not really used this a lot of times, but it is also very helpful. So emphasis in the center, emphasis animations. So what you can do with these animations is, if you have an object on the screen already, you can highlight it in some way, you can increase its size, you can change its color and so on, right? So with pictures on your screen, you will only be able to increase the size or make it move or something. You might not be able to change its color and so on, right? But with objects, with the shapes that we've drawn, you can actually change its color. With text, you can actually change the text color and so on. So for example, I'm going to make this particular rectangle, say, change its size or something, right? So that is emphasis. So if I had 3 rectangles and I apply emphasis only to this one, it would stand out. Now make sure that you think about applications of this. For example, if I were on this particular slide where I'm showing 7 equations and I want the professor to focus only on one of those equations, I would apply emphasis to that particular equation. It will pop out and I'll just speak about that. That will make everything much easier, right? Cool. So you can use emphasis for that. If you notice this slide properly, I applied emphasis to the background rectangle also, the yellow rectangle right now. It changed the color as we moved from this to this, right? Even that is emphasis. Cool. So these are emphasis animations. And finally, exit animations. So you want to have things on screen and then you want to have them out of the screen. You want them to vanish. Use exit animations. Exit animations are same as entry animations, just that they make the object disappear. So here, if I apply the exit animation, something like this would happen, right? Again, there is wipe, there is dissolve. There are couple of there are tons of exit animations. Again, same thing as entry animations. Don't use the shitty ones, right? And there is a fourth kind of animation, which is path animation. But I'll not talk about it right away. Maybe let's just go ahead and then I can tell you more about it, right? The next thing about animation is the timing and timeline. So we learned about what is entry, what kind of animations exist, right? What all can you create using these animations? Let's look at how to time them properly. This is the most complicated part. So once you click on animation pane, in this, once you click on animation, you will open this tab. Here you will have a small icon called animation pane. Right? I hope everyone found that. Everyone who's on the screen found the animation pane button, right? Cool. Once you click on the animation pane, you will see something like this. This sidebar opens up, right? Now this will show you a couple of things. The timeline, right? In Windows, it will look something like a Gantt chart. It will look like this. It will look like rectangles, right? That is a better UI, I feel, as against the MacBook where I have to enter things manually, but we'll come to that later. So this is what it will look like, right? I'll explain the meaning of those symbols and what all of that means. Let's go through the timing bit of it, right? So these are all the animations that you've applied in any slide. They'll be listed over here. Entry animations are green, emphasis are yellow, and exit animations would be red. Cool. Let's talk about these 3 things: start, duration, and delay, right? Let's talk about start first. Start basically means what is going to trigger your animation, right? So there are 3 types, or rather 4 types of starting an animation. The first one is the most obvious one, which is used most frequently. Click. When you click, the thing will enter or whatever, right? It will, any of those 3 animations would happen one on your click, right? Pretty straightforward. The second one is with previous. So when the previous animation is starting, at the same time another animation will get started, right? That is the with previous animation. With previous will also couple with delay. So with previous with delay will start both the animations at the same time, but the second one will start with a delay. Say here, just notice this is with previous, right? And this is with previous with delay. You get the difference, right? They will start at the same time, but the second one will start with a delay. And you can actually introduce delays at a series of delays that actually creates a very good effect. I'll go through that again sometime later. And then finally there's after previous. So once the previous object's animation is over, then the next animation is triggered, right? Only after the duration of the previous animation is over, right? So after previous in a way is a subset of with previous, with that delay equal to the duration of the previous animation, right? So these are the 3 main types. Now you understood how to trigger an animation. Apart from this, there is a duration of the animation. For example, the time it takes for that man to revolve is the duration of that animation. Here it's 0.5 seconds. You can adjust that too. You can set it to whatever you want. Other than this, there are a couple of other things on the animation pane. Effect options, you can also find them over here on this tab here, right? Effect options are basically options for some particular animations. For example, wipe, you can select whether it's wiping from left to right or from top to bottom or whatever. For some of them, for example, for fade, there won't be an effect option because there's like no option there, right? Cool. So that's about it. Did everyone understand this part? Does anyone want me to go through this again? So these are the essentials of this particular part, right? So you will have this list formed. In Windows, what you can do is you can drag these rectangles to adjust the duration and to adjust the overlap, right? I'll just quickly explain that in another slide, right? So here what happened is, first one is a click animation, the next are with animations, right? The first one is on click, the next one is with previous, the next one is with previous with a delay, and next one is a with previous with more delay, right? Cool. Here it's on click, after previous, and then with previous, right? So you can create something like this, after previous and with previous, right? Did everyone follow that? Cool. So these are the basics of animation. Now using this, you can actually create any sort of animation that you want, right? That's about it. That's it. That helps you create all sorts of PPTs and all sorts of animation that you possibly want to, right?